Hi, welcome back to another made by my cell phone YouTube video. I have like what, a bunch of these now, and they're growing thanks to my contributors and thanks to the people who actually want to see this succeed. I'm having a good time doing this, and I'm going to continue doing this until I can't, which I can't do anything else right now because of life. But life goes on, and I'm doing this because there's nothing else to do. But you get benefit out of it, so enjoy it. Anyway, focus of today's video is wooden rings. I follow an individual on YouTube called HappyAtom, and through his videos I first found ways to make wooden rings, and I found those videos to be extremely informative and very well put together. I'm trying to improve my video making myself and make it less of a mess. So I'm learning as I go along, so take my humbleness as it is. Now, HappyAtom put some things together. He was experimenting with it himself for the first time. So I've made a bunch of rings for no reason, because it's something to do and practice with when I get bored. And making those, I've discovered some things. Some behaviors of wood I have learned, and some things about glue. Now, in his videos, he uses a glue called Bob Smith, which, I carry some of their products too. Bob Smith is a perfectly fine Ca glue. When anybody says it doesn't matter what type of glue you use, super glue wise, we mean it doesn't matter what type you use, because all super glues are created equal with very, 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 very few exceptions. And one of the exceptions is one of the things that I'm going to bring up with right now. Ca glue types such as thin glues or water glues, this, literally like water, flows and absorbs into these wood pieces very well. I wouldn't use it to glue something that's porous together. I use that to do a finish on the glue or on the wood piece and to absorb through the wood for its own qualities. There are other types of glue called gel types. Gel types are thicker. This is a semi-gel. It's a lot less watery, but it's kind of thick. A little bit thicker than, or a little bit thinner than a syrup, which is good. Here is a full gel type, and this is, can you even see it? It moves so slow, you can't even see it. There it goes, right there. It moves so slow. It is a full gel type and moves very slowly. So it has no absorption qualities. Great for absorbing, or great for gluing pieces of wood. I use all three of those for various things. I'm using the thicker ones in increasing thicknesses as time goes on. I bought this as an experiment. This is a DAP brand, D-A-P. You might have seen those used with fillers. I've got some other DAP products, which I'm not going to stand up and get right now. You saw me use one of them on this one if you see my other videos. But DAP makes this wood glue. It's an all-purpose wood glue, and it had a sticker on it, but those were peeling off because of whatever reason, and I just took them off because I didn't want to hassle with them. But you can go anywhere that Ca glue is sold and pick one up. You want to pick up one watery type, thin glue, they're usually labeled thin, and one gel glue. They'll be labeled as such. Doesn't matter where they are, doesn't matter how much they cost, it doesn't matter anything. Right? Nothing really matters when it comes to Ca glue. Just get whatever you can get. If you cannot get glue and you have to go to Amazon, Bob Smith glues are sold on Amazon, as well as the brand I use. This is Starbond. So snazzy. Starbond I like for one reason. Well, okay, two reasons. One reason is because they come in little cases like this. And in this case, you have extra tips. And they're specifically for modelers. You stand up straight. They're specifically for modelers, and they come with an assortment of micro tips. You cut the tip of that, you could feed it down a teeny tiny hole and put super glue in it. Great for modeling. And that red thing on the bottom is for when this gets stopped up, you put it on top of it and you could push it down. It has a needle on it. So for when I get it for $1 more than Bob Smith, you get all this with your Star Bond. I like Star Bond for that reason alone. Okay, so put that away. Oh, and because a CA glue is a CA glue, Bob Smith accelerators work on any CA glue. So yes, these work together and these work together. However, this one is so thick it doesn't work so well because it creates a crusted outside layer and then dries on the inside. So that takes a while. Okay, so first things first, we're going to make some rings based on these that I have here. Ta-da! I wear them fabulously. Is it wobbling? Yeah, it's wobbling. I'm sorry, it's on a stand. So here's what we're making today. These are my Arborist Special. They're wood rings made of 3 different types of wood. No, that's not different sides of the same thing. These are literally 2 types of wood put together and separated by a light piece here. You cannot tell that that's there because I sanded it down. So it has a very nice shine. You get to see different types of wood, and you get to see the wood for the wood's sake. You get to see the wood in the wood splendor. And that ring goes through and through. Here's the same thing, but lighter. Again, made out of 3 different types of wood. Here's another one, which focuses more on one wood and uses the other 2 types to frame it, top and bottom. Now, if you notice, one of these works on the edge here, because one thing I've noticed when it comes to light woods, you get the spiral effect. You can see it real well on there. You can see these lines right there. This spiral effect is because it's made out of wood laminate, and all those different lines separate a little bit, and sometimes you have errors in there no matter how hard you try, and you're going to get little things. Even though the super glue keeps it held together just fine, they still show. It's still a little issue there, but you don't see it on the face, and that's what you want to focus on. Okay, so I'm going to make 2 of these. I've already got some cut, so we're going to go off the assumption that certain things have already been done. One of those things is that I'm assuming that you have already cut out strips of wood and that you have already wound them to get ready for shaping. These are scrap pieces. We'll be using that to do the edges there. Really handy. Okay, so you know you need your ruler. You know you need your cutting mat here, the green thing sitting right here. Another thing that I have here is a silicone mat. This is a high temp silicone mat, and I use it because glue doesn't stick to it. So I could super glue directly onto it, and if it gets too much glue on it, I could just peel it off. Glue accelerant for this project, don't use this. What this will do is it'll hyper dry or accelerate the gluing process on your glue, and that will cause it to become white, foggy, and create a lot of heat. Don't want that. Thick glue to set the shape. Thin glue to saturate. This is a 1-inch aluminum rod. I use this in 2 ways, to have pieces dry on it and to set the pre-shape as I roll them up in 2 steps. So I went and grabbed a couple of pieces of wood. This is what I have prepped today. Wood 1, wood 2. They're pretty close to the same color, so they'll complement each other, and they'll have their own unique patterns, so they'll make their own attribution or contribution to the project as a whole. And I'll use this between them, 1 or 2 layers. It's really your choice. 1 layer will be thin. 2 layers will be what I used on this. Okay, these other two pieces are called burls. Dark burl, light burl. And the reason why you can tell they're burls is because of these patterns in here, those swirling circular patterns. The grain in these is straight, maybe wavy, as is the other one. These look like Jupiter. They really do. They're kind of neat. Units like this or pieces like this are very artistically liberal. They give you so much character on a single surface of wood without having to do anything. They look absolutely beautiful, and that's what was used to create this. And another thing, burl pieces are often going to come with missing chunks like this. You can't get away from that either. They always have voids in them. In fact, you can see all those voids. Harder woods, like this one, which have the same quality as this one. Harder woods tend to fold if you try to roll them too much, too fast. And that fold causes a gap and will never be perfectly flat. You'll never get it perfectly flat, no matter how hard I try. The wood's just too thick. Welcome to my kitchen sink and a bowl of hot water. Well, hot from the tap. I just filled that up with hot tap water. You can tell this is my kitchen sink because I have dishes. All right, so wetting the wood serves one purpose, and that is to make the wood pliable. Using hot water is the best idea because it's the same as a noodle concept. Wet noodle, no bend. I'm sorry, dry noodle, no bend. Wet noodle, do bend. And you can see the different types I have here. This is that one wood that pins really easy on its own. So it does not need much. Here's the other one that's a lot stiffer and will need more help. Now, this is where we're going to start creating a difference between my video and HappyAtoms video. This is all I'm going to do to it. And for you wondering, what am I going to do with the burl? The burl is going to be an amazing piece because it does not take much to make it bendable. That's all the flex it has now. Now it has all the flex in the world. It takes very little water to make a burl bend. Very little. Okay, so when you have them in the water, the purpose is to remove the air out of it. When you heat these up to the point where you start having discoloration, what that is wood sap leaving the wood. That makes the wood lose color, lose brilliance, and lose integrity. You don't want to do those things. A little bit of water goes a long way. That's all you need. Now, people want to get more water in these to make them more pliable, but I'm going to show you a trick to condition the wood to roll. All right, here's my pile of limp noodles. Now it's preformed, so I don't need to worry about that one. Where's my other preformed one? Oh yeah, here's the other one. Okay, so these have just been introduced to warm water. We have to condition these to roll. Some of them, like this piece, which was the aforementioned ingrain piece because of that swirl pattern, it doesn't take much to make it pliable. So it's already going to wrap around our form very easily. This is why I have this one, the aluminum rod. You could do this with a dowel rod, but I would soak the dowel rod in wax to keep water from absorbing into it easily. If you don't do that, use wax paper. All right, get rid of this thing ready to dry. Get on the ring. Rubber band. There we go. Okay. Kinky. I didn't have to do that. I could just flip it over. But yeah, it's going to dry on here. Each one of these. And this is that one that has that horribly, horribly malleable native piece. It's crazy how easily this bends. It's scary almost. I don't want to crush it with the rubber band. Join your brother. Please? There you go. Okay. This is the piece where you want to look at it first. It's wet, so you'll be able to see the native patterns to it. What do we want our face to be? That one with the swirl? Or this one? Or that's really an eye. That one with the eye, or those swirls? A or B? Yeah, I'm not pulling on this too much either, because burls, like the other piece, the ingrained piece, have a tendency to be very weak. Until I introduce the super glue to it, I have to assume it's ready to break. Here's that one that we just put into hot water. All it has is a little bit of water into it, bringing life back into it and its color. But this is one that does not want to bend very easily. Out of all the woods, it's very similar to this one. And if I try to bend it around here right now, that happens. That is indicative of the larger problem at whole when you try to do it too tightly around a corner too quickly. You get this. Wood behaves in many crazy different ways. One of them is that wood can be trained. It's about 45 degrees, right? Like a candy cane. Okay, so right now we're training the wood. That's step one. That is forcing the water into places to help it bend. That's also getting it used to bending. While we train this, it will happily go into that shape, which is part of the reason why we end up with this shape altogether, because we train it to go here. We're not trying to break the cells, we're trying to give them new form. And you could do this with a live tree too. Live tree is actually a lot more wet, and you can make them do all kinds of things. In fact, just as a little bit of trivia for you, Native Americans used to train trees to give them point markers instead of signs. You would have a tree, and you'd take the twig and you'd bend it. The twig would point the direction that you need to go for water or shelter or something like that, or your campsite. And they would set those trails up with those trees. So you'd have trees as your identifiers. And now this is a funny spot in the wood right here. It's kind of wanting to bend right there. Okay. So, since you can train wood to do that, there it is. And we're getting more and more into that spiral. And this is where we're already at. You can introduce more water to it to continue its viability. Some woods are so hard that you need to do that. But we're close here. Now, the trick with this part, to hold firmly, to roll tightly. And in case you're wondering what I'm doing here, is I'm holding the edge down. And there we go. boom. There we go.